Hello everybody and welcome back to the Fortress of Solitude. Today we're going to be checking out The Ultimates issue 6 by Dennis Camp, Juan Frigeri and Federico Blee. The Ultimates finally face down the Hulk and his children this issue as Dennis Camp brings us in on Iron Lad delivering a rousing speech to the Ultimates, who have all gathered for what Tony calls is a rescue mission, having cracked the Council's overnet, which revealed Maker and his cabal's mind control operations and various other nefarious dealings, including the damage control Blacksite prison they are about to breach into to free more heroes from. Having the Ultimates assemble for a prison break is such a cool first showing, quote unquote, for the full team, and I really like that. For a change, it's Tony delivering that rousing speech, not Captain America. It's not something we really get to see with Tony, and it's because he's never really that guy, but this universe has forced him to grow up and sort of step up to the plate to help out sort the universe that even his own father had a hand in ruining. While all the team is there, Doom isn't though, as he's busy back in his lab doing things with the Immortus engine, things he probably shouldn't be doing as Tony has told him that they're not going to be using it for time travel at all because it's too dangerous. But because this is Reed Richards, he doesn't leave well enough alone and decides to run some tests on the device. The Ultimates meanwhile gear up and blast into the Blacksite, only to find Banner waiting for them with some tea. I'm glad that Banner is finally getting utilized as the main villain. He has gotten a lot of, back page, final page issue stuff. He's been sort of manipulating stuff from the shadows since the series started, and now to focus on him is much more satisfying, and I like that he is the big bad guy of this first arc. We've had the Hulk fighting the Avengers multiple times over the decades since they appeared in the 60s, and it's really cool that the Ultimates are kind of adopting that and making him the big first bad guy of this team. Upon seeing Banner, She-Hulk attacks him, but her anger gets the better of her, letting the giant monk easily dodge her blows and unleash the atomic iron fist, taking the hero out of the fight with one punch. I love how much that Camp is leaning into the monk aesthetic with Banner. He didn't want to attack but is forced to, and he will end the fight with a single blow if it comes to that, and he does before returning to his tea. The Ultimates are all taken offline from Doom's systems as they are trapped in the room with Banner, which transports them to the immortal city of Kunlun, which Banner is the ruler of along with the 7 other heaven capitals. The team think that they can take one man in this fight, but that's where they underestimate Banner, who has brought friends in the form of his acolytes, who all inject themselves with a serum that turns them into horrific hulking versions of themselves, dubbed the immortal weapons of Hulk, who join their master in battling the Ultimates. As they fight, Doom is having his own fight as he tries to muddle through code to find the Ultimates' signals, and thanks to the Ultimates network he and Tony have created being so vast, he quickly finds the team and locks onto their signal. Banner, while fighting Iron Lad, lays down his whole deal, and we learn a little bit more about how he thinks that they can get peace through strength, which is a pretty classic fascist thing to say, and what we've seen in real life as well, with countries or governments thinking of using force as the only way of getting peace or order installed in their countries. And that's really the whole thing of Earth 6160. It's a fascist state run by an insane man who will do anything to ensure the quote-unquote peace he has crafted is kept. It's interesting that each of the villains we've seen so far of the Council represents a different facet of fascism as well, with the Banner being a physical representation of the force used to gain peace through order and strength. As the team continue to be beaten, Doom finally gains access to Iron Lad's live feed, watching the battle as Wasp is grabbed by Fat Cobra and eaten, which brings back memories of the Blob eating Janet in the original Ultimate Universe. This is something I never really thought would be reiterated on, but I love that it's this type of reference that we get to the old universe, and I think we need more of that. No direct connections, but just things that may have happened in both of these universes. As Iron Lad is practically beaten to death by Banner, Doom rushes to do calculations in order to teleport the team with the Immortus engine, something he's not really meant to be doing, while Ant-Man manages to activate his particles and grow to enormous size like he did when they fought Captain Britain in New York. However, even his immense size does nothing but amuse Fat Cobra. That amusement doesn't last long though, as Wasp violently bursts from Fat Cobra's stomach, killing him instantly. The comic has been bloody in past issues, but I really like how visceral it can get without falling into the whole edginess of it all. Like, the original Ultimates would often do this sort of stuff, case in point, the original Wasp being eaten by the Blob, which was done really just for sheer shock value. Like, I remember seeing it for the first time, and that's really all it served in the story, just this big kind of like shocking moment. And that's really what the original Ultimates was really all about, all these characters in shocking moments. But I like that here it's used as a device to push Ant-Man to grow in size again and kind of face, the battle head on, since throughout the book he's kind of been sort of dodging it all. He didn't really want to do this, and he's kind of been running away from it. That was a whole thing with this version of Hank Pym. So I like that this was sort of like the thing that pushed him over the edge to actually be a hero and actually try and save Wasp, and it gave Wasp time to escape. Speaking of escape, Doom gets ready to use the Immortus engine to teleport the team back home, but not before Banner makes it known that everything the Ultimates has been doing has actually been causing people to want the control he and the Maker offer the people, citing the Ultimates are far too radical and violent for some people, and while some might join them, it'll be a small minority. Banner ends his speech by thanking the team for allowing him to win by crushing Tony's armor with him still inside of it. Banner's posturing did let She-Hulk get in nice and close to the villain and land some hits, but it comes at a cost as Banner merely crushes She-Hulk's hand into a bloody pulp before readying to cut her head off with his iron fist. However, Doom's portal kicks in and teleports the team away right in the nick of time, angering Banner greatly. But he ends up with the last laugh, as it turns out once the team get back to Ultimates HQ, it's revealed that Tony Stark has been killed. Now, this was actually some genuine surprise to me, and one that has so many cool possibilities when you think about it. So, of course, we have a time travel device with the Immortus engine, so they can travel back in time, save Tony that way. But what if he wasn't saved? What if he actually stays dead? So, let's say he does stay dead. Technically, Maker wouldn't be trapped in Latveria anymore, since we all assumed in Ultimate Invasion when Kang appears, it's going to be Tony. There was like hints that it was Tony who had used the Immortus engine to become this being known as Kang in this universe. And if he is dead, then he can't obviously become Kang, can't trap Maker in Latveria, so which means, it changes the future, changes the past as well. But since that obviously hasn't happened, I mean, we haven't seen the next issue yet, so who knows what could happen. However, I think that character was someone else. I think it might have been Reed in disguise, and maybe this is like the spurring moment for him where he stops being Doom and becomes Iron Lad in Tony's memory, and maybe that leads him to becoming Kang, and that would actually be quite cool, because then it kind of reverts back to the original kind of like Richards lineage that leads to Kang through Nathaniel Richards, which I think would be really quite cool. I'm really eager to see what Dennis Camp has in store for us, since he can deliver some really killer twists, and he has, and this is just one of many he has in just these 6 issues alone. They've all been so damn good and so damn engaging, and like what I just did, it makes you start sort of thinking about things like, is Tony actually going to stay dead? Is Tony really Kang? Is it really Reed? What happens now? I'm engaged, and I cannot wait to see the next issue. Ultimates continues to surprise me with just how it manages to balance classic superhero versus villains battles with great character development. I'm glad that Banner is finally getting fleshed out more than he was in the previous issues, positioning him as a really cool quote-unquote big boss role while the Maker is still trapped in Latveria. Couple that with some really cool callbacks to the original Ultimate Universe that is being used to actually drive some of these characters' stories forward, and along with a really cool final page twist that makes us reconsider everything we saw in Ultimate Invasion and the Ultimates up until now. It all makes Ultimate issue 6 one hell of a ride. I'm going to give this issue a 10 out of 10.